everyone, Kate back for another Frank Capra project video. This is going to be a very brief one because I filmed a review of Meet John Doe, I think over a month ago, and then somehow lost the footage. So it is not quite as fresh in my mind. But basically, if I had to rate this one, let's say, I wish I had done that from the beginning, but let's say out of 10 stars, out of 10, not stars, but out of 10, I think I'd give it a 4 out of 10. This is a Frank Capra film I kept hearing recommended, so that's why it kind of ended up at the top of my priority list. So it was a bit of a disappointment for me after watching Pocket Full of Miracles and then Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. This was one that I felt a lot less connected to personally, and I think there were a couple elements that did that. The basic premise for Meet John Doe, I wrote down the IMDb description, and it says that a man needing money agrees to impersonate a non-existent person who said he'd be committing suicide as a protest, and a political movement begins. So the John Doe movement begins. The character Ann Mitchell, played by Barbara Stanwyck, is being let go at her job at the newspaper because they are just having some budget cuts. And so as a kind of, I don't know, a final ploy to like stick it to the man, she writes this sensational sort of worded suicide note and saying, you know, there's this, and this wrong with America, and I will be jumping from this building, which is a very famous building, at a certain time, and then just turns it in to the head honchos at the newspaper saying, you know, you want good writing, this is good writing. And it gets printed and makes a lot of waves, and everyone is wondering because it's signed John Doe. Who is John Doe? You know, who would write such a note? So then the newspaper realizes that they have something, and Ann Mitchell says, well, you're gonna have to pay me more, and here are the deals, and let's hire someone to say that he was the John Doe that wrote the note. So in comes the Gary Cooper character, whose name coincidentally is also John. It's John Willoughby, Long John Willoughby, and I think he's what would be called a hobo. In the movie it's called a hobo, and people don't use that term now, but that's what he calls himself. And he just travels around from place to place. He is not well-to-do. He is really kind of the everyman, and he agrees to play this part and to be hired. And he goes around and starts speaking at events, and he ends up inspiring so many people. And people start John Doe clubs, and they just want to do better and become better citizens. And so it does sound like an interesting plot. Something just fell and it startled me. But it sounds like an interesting plot, but the fact that it's all based on this lie, on this fake note that Ann Mitchell herself wrote, and then he has to act like he did it. And so he is this really naive, quiet man, and he's taken in. And so there was a combination of feelings I was having the whole time. One is that this is all based on a lie. I can't be inspired on something that's based on a lie. Two, I felt so protective of John Willoughby, who was portraying John Doe, because there are all of these people who are less honest than him and wanting him to do certain things and to promote certain political candidates because of his position that he had of influence. They were then going to use it and wield it to for dishonest purposes, even though I know he was portraying something that he didn't write the letter, but he was doing it for the greater good. And it ends up that these politicians and other people are just trying to take advantage of him and use it for political and financial gain. And the other part was that I was not that connected with Gary Cooper's acting style. This was my first film watching with him. Barbara Stanwyck, I still feel pretty neutral towards. I don't dislike her acting, but I'm never, very blown away by her acting, kind of neutral. But Gary Cooper, I think maybe he just has an understated style. I don't say this, you know, seeing him in many films, I don't have that background. So I would be curious going in and watching another Gary Cooper film to see what I think about it, to see how I think his acting style is. And yeah, just to see what I think of him, because for now I just felt I was a little confused about how he was playing the character, and so I don't kind of know what to make of that character. So yeah, general feeling is you know, I didn't love it like I was hoping I was going to. So I think I will be watching Arsenic and Old Lace next, maybe. I actually think I watched Arsenic and Old Lace in college and I just don't remember it, which is strange. And I love Cary Grant, so I'm very much excited to be doing that. And I kind of, once I lost the footage, then I kind of lost track of the project for about a month. So I'm glad to be kind of looking for another Frank Capra to watch. And also he has several silent films that I think it would be interesting to switch things up with a silent film. But that's all I have to say about this one. Let me know down below if you've seen Meet John Doe, if you love it. Obviously, I love to hear from people who had a different experience than I did watching or reading something. So please leave comments down below, and I will be back with another video soon. Bye.